Gonna have a little more of my bean juice here. Nobody drinks like coffee made from, you know, kidney beans or pinto beans. It's only coffee beans they'll drink liquid bean juice from. It's pretty good. You mix up your iced coffee, throw a little cinnamon in there, mix it up, boom. So let's get to it. Hey guys, Illusionist Jason Bishop. I'm back with another random magic review. This is where I pull up a random video from online about magic and I watch it and I give you my first impressions of it. Usually I have never seen the video before you guys see me watch it actually. I hit play and I watch it and I review it and you see the first take of that. I almost never watch these before. I almost never watch them after. Of course, when I edit them, I have to watch them a bunch of times then. And then I'll put some little facts in there if I've messed something up. I sort of fact check myself. But anyway, I've been really fortunate to be a professional illusionist for well over 10 years. I did a lot of colleges back in the day. Then I moved on to theaters. Magic has taken me to 49 of the 50 states. Sorry, South Dakota. I've performed on TV shows in Paris, New York, LA, Toronto, China, and just a bunch of other places as well. So we've pulled up a video here. This video, this is kind of a different one actually. This is kind of interesting. It's called 7 Mistakes Every Beginner Magician Makes. Learn how to do magic like a pro. Part 1. So this is part 1 and it's like 8 minutes long. So I don't know if we'll get to part 2 or not. We'll see. This is from Alex Boyer. I don't know Alex Boyer. I don't know any of these people. I never know why, you know, there's certain magicians I know, but there's actually a lot of magicians out there across the world. So you don't really know them all, unfortunately. But 7 mistakes every beginner magician makes. Let's check this out and see if I agree with them or disagree, or better yet, learn something from this dude and go, oh man, I never realized I'm making that mistake. So here we go.
In today's video, I wanted to talk about magician sins. We all know magicians that do awkward stuff. In this video, you'll learn what not to do. These tips will help you improve your performance, how to be a better magician, and also being a better you. So I'll stop talking and let's get right into the video. Magician sins. Ah!
I like that you said to be a better you, not just be a better magician, but be a better you. That's kind of an interesting point. The purpose of performing is communication, right? So by being a better performer, you become a better communicator and can express yourself more clearly. And that's something that whether you do magic or any type of performance professionally, it's not a bad idea to go to Toastmasters or some Rotary or a speech club or something where you learn to speak, or, you know, dance where you learn to move, or, you know, obviously even like sports, you know, sports is a big thing where people learn to be cooperative in a team setting, because most of us work in team settings in one way or another. I mean, magicians tend to work in very small teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But when you go to a theater or you go to a cruise ship or a college or a conference, you have to have people skills. You have to be able to relate. You can't just, you know, look down at your feet and give one-word answers and stuff. So I thought that was actually interesting that he said that, and it's a good point. So performing definitely helps people to come out of their shell and to be able to be a little bit more social and function in social environments. It certainly helped me with that for sure.
Let's go. The I'm gonna magician sin. Alright, sir, so you've just picked a card. Perfect. I'm gonna take your card and I'm gonna place it inside the deck. I'm gonna make sure everybody sees it. I'm gonna leave it inside the deck like this. And now I'm gonna shuffle the cards and I'm gonna find your card. Oh. Just stop it. Just stop saying that. I'm gonna. Let me ask you a question. Are you saying I'm gonna every time you do something in life? Of course not, right? So let the spectator see what you're gonna do. Instead of always saying, I'm gonna take your card, I'm gonna place it inside the deck, I'm gonna try to find the card, I'm gonna stop doing, I'm gonna.
I think that's a pretty good point, actually. That's a sign of an amateur normally if they say I'm gonna, because what they're doing is they're sort of self-narrating. They're almost even giving themselves the confidence of reminding themselves what they're going to do next, but they haven't gotten to a point where there's a joke or there's some mysterious moment or there's suspense. You don't narrate your own stuff with simply the process of what you're doing. It's not interesting, it's not fun, it's not exciting. I think he kind of nails that one, frankly. That's something we all do early on. I'm gonna do this, and I place it into the box, and then I'm gonna lift off the box. And it's like, you know, there's an old saying in writing for TV and stuff, what is it? Show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. So you don't want to tell people things very often. You want to show them the thing that you're doing. Just show them. You can tell them something else, some other piece of information, whether that's a story or a joke, or in the case of Teller from Penn and Teller, nothing. He's completely silent. So his moves have to be sort of an art unto themselves. So I like that point. I think that was a very good point.
I'm incredible. Sin. Come on, guys, don't take yourself too seriously. People know you're a magician if you carry around a deck of cards in your pocket, right? You don't need to be like super mysterious and like super like, obviously if this is your style, it can be a bit like this, but don't overdo it, right? People are not stupid. They know that you don't have magic powers, right? The goal is to do it so well that they are going to think that you have magic powers. You don't have to say it or like, stop that, guys. Be fun, be funny, react with the spectator, talk to the spectator, chill with them, you know? Again, guys, the goal is only to have fun. And of course, this brings me to the other.
I think that's a pretty good tip too. There's a little bit of debate on that. Some people think that magicians actually don't take magic seriously enough sometimes, where you're not presenting, you know, magicians sort of deflate themselves a little bit. You might do something really impactful and you could leave it there, kind of like David Blaine does. But maybe you might follow it up with a joke, and that sort of deflates the power of that. So that one's a little bit on the fence. I do agree with him for the most part about that, because some magicians, they might do sort of an even basic trick, maybe something that the audience is even seeing through and figuring out a little bit, and they just have this, you know, this sort of big ego about it, because maybe personally they don't really feel that great about themselves, and so they inflate their ego with the trick, and then they feel great about it that way. But it looks kind of funny to the audience. Like the audience goes, I don't think that's that great. I don't think you're that great. So it's a little bit better, I think, like he's saying, to be a little bit self-effacing and humble, and, you know, don't take yourself so seriously. I mean, you can take the magic seriously, but I don't think that you should take yourself so seriously. So I do agree with them, although on a certain line, I think even myself and other magicians, maybe he does as well, we sort of undercut the power of magic sometimes by ending it with a joke or something like that, where we could just let it sit there and let that mystery and amazement sit there. But again, not putting it on yourself like you're so great. That I agree with him completely. So good points. I mean, the guy is obviously thinking about his magic, which I always love, that when people think about the theory behind what they're doing.
Sin, and that is... Guys, don't show off at first. When you start a trick, I see so many magicians doing this. They have a deck of cards in their hand and they're like doing cardistry stuff. Don't do it. We're magicians. Magic is all about mystery and surprise. What I'm saying is this: if you approach the spectator and you're like doing crazy moves like this, and after that you're like, sir, please pick a card, and they pick a card and you leave it inside of the deck and you say, my goal will be to find your card with just a snap. Do you really think the spectator will be impressed if you snap and you find their card? Of course not. You've just showed them that you're amazing with card. So obviously you're gonna find their card, right? So how about you do this instead, just for fun. Try it once. You walk to a spectator and you're like, sir, can you please take a card for me? And you're like spreading the cards in your hand and you're all sloppy and stuff. And after that you're like, all right, I'll place your card inside of the deck just like this. And now, I don't know if you got, if you act like this, like you're not sure what's gonna happen, the spectator will not be sure as well. So they're going to think that it's impossible for you to find their cards, right? And after that, you can do like, I don't know, something like this and find their card or anything that you want, right? But don't show off at first. You're gonna ruin the surprise. Trust me, that's a valuable tip. Another sins that I see.
I don't know. That one's a little more on the fence for me too. I totally get what he's saying, and I think that in a different way, I really believe in some of this idea, because you want to ascend your talent level. If you come up and you do some of your most sophisticated, really eye-catching, difficult stuff right off the bat, where do you go from there? And that's just a common sort of idea within all of entertainment, within jokes or movies or what have you. You don't start the movie with the person getting rescued and Spider-Man, vanquishing the evil person and buildings exploding and falling on each other normally. I mean, if you start there, then the end of that thing is going to be like the world explodes and a spaceship takes off and all, aliens come down. It's got to get bigger. So if you start really big and super interesting and super high level, skill level that's really high, where do you go from there? the idea that he says about bumbling and this and that, you know, it's interesting. I mean, there's a fantastic magician named Dr. Leonard Green, and he did, when he first started doing this, I think, you know, sleight of hand guys may disagree with me, but I think he was doing some of the highest end sleight of hand that you can do, but he made it seem, you know, he made it seem so casual and almost bumbly in the way that this gentleman is talking about, that he was kind of dropping the cards and they were kind of sloppy. You know, that was all part of his routine. And so I'm not sure what I think about that exactly. I mean, I think Dr. Leonard Green was absolutely unbelievable, and my skill level is not as high as his. I'm not criticizing him at all. I actually think that some of his almost sloppy, haphazard way about it really did help. But this idea of being unconfident when you walk up to somebody, that's different. I'm not sure that I think that you should not appear confident. Although that can be a stylistic choice. If that's your character and you want to be that way and that fits who you are, then you really should do that. If you're a jock and you get into magic and you're 6'2" and you're well built and you have a chiseled jawline, then you should not go up to people and be bumbly and fumbly. Although if you're trying to be funny with it, maybe it will work out. But it just doesn't work with the character that they expect out of you. It's probably going to seem a little bit out of place, a little bit awkward. If you're a very slight, skinny, small stature guy, maybe you have to wear big glasses or something like that. That's almost a Woody Allen aspect, right? And then maybe that would work for your character pretty well, because sometimes our characters choose us a little bit. So anyway, I think it's an interesting point that he makes. I do agree, don't come out with your best stuff up front. There's nowhere to go after that. If you do your best stuff up front, you can't go anywhere better than where you started. And that's not fun. That's not what the audience wants to see. Save your better things for a little bit later. So I agree with him to a degree for sure on that.
See, a lot of magicians do is that they're not interesting. Come on guys, you're a magician. It's so easy to be interesting. Try to be relatable with people as well. Like if you perform like this. Hi guys, my name is Alex. I'm a magician. I'm gonna try to do something really cool with you today. I want you to take a card, please. Now, remember your card is really important. I'm gonna take your card and place it back inside of the deck. And now my goal will... So boring. Be fun. Have fun. If you love magic, show it to people. If you're having fun doing something you love, people will feel it. And just like that, you've upgraded to a new level. Also, don't exaggerate too much with your story. Here's an example. Alright guys, so this is a deck of cards that I found in Egypt, right on top of the pyramid. I got there with a plane. I jumped with a parachute and... A lot of you guys might laugh right now. It's actually a story that I've heard a while back. Stay real.
Yeah, I'm kind of with him on that. I've seen that kind of thing as well, where it's just ridiculous. And you don't know at the time if they're being tongue-in-cheek and they're just pulling your leg and you're like, oh, he's being funny. And then you find out, no, this dude's trying to be totally serious about this ridiculous story that a 10-year-old is not gonna buy. I mean, it's just stupid. Who do you think you're fooling? I don't understand I don't understand the point of that, frankly. So the other thing that he showed before this was that sort of, oh, pick a card, can you do this? That's performing inside. You're performing inside your body almost. It's just almost for you. And maybe it's about the trick for you, but it's not about the people. And to go outside, you have to actually project your voice. You have to move towards them a little bit. You have to reach out a little bit. You have to have them take something from you and turn to the other person that's beside them. You know, there's 3 zones for the most part, usually, of your audience. There's, you know, front, left, and right. And you want to get these people involved and get those people involved. And so you pick this card. Okay, would you take that for me, please, and sign that? And I just want you to shuffle this deck over here. And now you're sort of getting everybody involved in it. But this like tight here, you don't attract anybody's interest usually by doing that. So anyway, not a bad point at all, I think. Frankly, I think it was a pretty good point.
Relatable, stay interesting, and just have fun. Here's a beginner sin. Overloading your pockets when you do a gig. Guys, trust me. If you have 10 decks on you, if you have some silk, if you got rope, if you got like too much, you're not gonna use it. You're gonna look like a big potato. It's not gonna be classy. I was actually doing that when I was younger. I was going to my gig with so much in my pocket. Every new stuff that magic companies just released, I had like 15 decks on me, but at the end of the night, I was only using like 5% of what I had on me. Choose what you're great at, and that's it. People will know you for what you're doing, and that's how you become a memorable performer. Choose 5.
Yeah, I think he was gonna say choose 5 tricks. I probably, when I used to do restaurants when I was starting out, that was my first gig. I remember I came back from performing on the road. I did this game show for just under a year or something around college campuses when I was 20 years old, and I became 21 on the road. So I did this game show to get experience, and it was really interesting. I mean, we toured I had barely been anywhere at that point in my life, and I was in Kansas and Maine and South Carolina and Illinois and just all over the place, Pennsylvania and New York and New Jersey and all these gigs. And then I came home and I'd quit that gig actually, and I had to get a job working in a grocery store and stock these shelves at night, for the next day and stuff. And first day, first hour, I hated it. I just absolutely hated that gig, that job. And so one day at my girlfriend's house, I just opened the phone book and I went to restaurants and I started at A, which was whatever, Applebee's, something. And I just picked up the phone and called and said, are you interested in a magician? And I could do this for a few hours. And next one. And I got down to, it was CR because the place's name was Crab Barn. And I picked him up, and it was kind of a big restaurant in our area, the Crab Barn. And I said, hey, I do magic. Can I come in for your waiting room? And, if we do $50 for the night or an hour or whatever it was when I was starting out. And they said, yeah, come in on Friday and let's give it a shot. And I was like, this is awesome. So I went in and I did 3 hours and they loved it. And I think I was there for like a year or something like that. And then another magician who ended up being pretty big, actually, he was on America's Got Talent and all that. He did the gig after I had left, actually, when I started doing colleges or something. But, it was just that, what the hell is my point on this? So I did this restaurant gig as one of my first gigs, and it was just such a reprieve for me to be able to do that and get out of this stocking a grocery shelf thing. But I would have, just like this dude saying, about maybe 6 or 7 things in my pockets, and I knew each pocket where those things were. This had a deck of cards, this one had sponge balls, this one had a couple coins, this one had some matches. But like this guy's saying, it wasn't all bulked up in my pants and stuff like that, because he's right. You look sloppy, you don't look good, you don't look stylish, you don't look classy, if you want to call it that as such. So I think that's a really good point too. If you have a deck of cards and you're a magician, you probably have at least 5-10 tricks, 3 that you can do, just bang them out and do a great job with. And maybe it's a lot more than that. And then you have a coin thing or this. Nobody wants you usually to sit at their table for 45 minutes. And that's not your job at a restaurant roaming thing. You're supposed to be going around, say, a waiting room. Like I would do packed waiting rooms. And this was to help these people stay there so they didn't get bored and leave, So it was kind of important for the restaurant. And they loved it. And I think some of the waiters and stuff and bartenders resented me because I think I got a free meal too every night, which was dope. Get that in your contract. So you get good money and you get a free meal. And you get to practice your magic and get better at it. I experimented on so many new tricks, in that environment. It was really fun. So let's see what else he has to say. Here we go.
The fact that you perfected, practice, and do this effect all the time to different group in the crowd. Another sin that I see a lot with magicians is that, let's say they messed up a trick, they don't have a plan B or C, right? So they're like, was that your card? And the spectator is like, no, and they're like, okay, well, let's do something else. I'm gonna try. No, don't do this. My solution for this is actually having a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, E. Have lots of different backup plans. So the more knowledge that you'll have in magic will help you to never mess up a trick. Now for the biggest magician sin ever, you guys guessed it right, lack of practice. If you consider yourself a professional magician and you hold your cards like this, right? And you're like, sir, pick any card, please. If you do a show and you're nervous, or you're doing a gig, a walk-around gig, a stage show, anything, and you're nervous, usually it's not because it's stressful, it's because you have lack of practice. If you're prepared 100%, why would you feel nervous about it? Lack of practice. So guys, please practice, practice, and practice. Practice makes perfect. See? So there we go.
I think it was Jamal Keys, who was a very good magician back in the day I spoke with, and I said something about practice makes perfect, and he said, well, practice makes permanent, actually. So, and only perfect practice makes perfect. There is no perfect, by the way. I actually believe, the closest to perfect you can get is progress. Keep getting better, and that's the closest to perfect you can get. There is no perfect, period. You just get better, frankly, and you can get a lot better. I agree with him that practice is really important. One thing that maybe I think that is a little bit unpopular with magicians. I think comics do it a lot. The tough thing with magic is that if you mess up magic, you might expose it. And as a magician, you never want to expose your trick. That's part of your job, is to protect that secret as such. But I think beyond practice, you have to get in front of people. And like his advice was, you know, do the same 2-3 tricks a lot of times. I think that's a really good point, frankly, is to do the same magic again and again and again. Because when you're doing the same magic trick that you know how to crush, you know how to do right out of the gate, now your personality starts coming out. Now you start to add that flourish you were working on. You start to turn this way and pivot that way, and a joke and a word and an inflection just comes out and makes it so much better. I think you should be able to do a trick pretty well without messing up before you go in front of people and do it. I think that you should go maybe in front of your friends though. You know, if your friends are into magic, a lot of times our friends are into magic when we're growing up, you know, because we're into it. Our best friend maybe is into it too a little bit. Or your brother or sister or your parents or uncle or whomever it is. And try it with them first and see how it works and get those kinks out, because you don't want to fall in your face, you know, the first time you do it in front of a paying audience or at a restaurant or in school or something like that. So try it in a super safe environment and anticipate that you might mess up. But where did you mess up? What messed up? So now do you have to go back and practice like he said? Or was it something that you misjudged that the audience would do? You didn't know the audience would respond that way. I've seen some of the best magicians in the world premiere a new trick on stage and get a different response from the audience, a laugh maybe where they didn't expect a laugh. And that's part of performing. So I'm not disagreeing with him in any way. I think you should practice, but I also think getting in front of an audience, you know, is really important. You know, a play, when you read a play in a script, that's not a play, that's a script. A play has to be performed on stage in front of people to be a play. If you just read it, that's a script. So if you're doing a trick and you don't have an audience, then you are not doing magic, because magic only happens in the minds of an audience. When you're doing it for yourself, I don't even know what you'd call that. It's just technique and it's just mechanics, something like that. But it's not actually magic until it's in front of an audience of some sort. It could be an audience of one, but it has to be an audience. Otherwise, it's not actually magic. I don't know if he has anything left here. Let's see. I thought his stuff was pretty good. I'd like to see this dude perform, frankly. I mean, it seems like he has a lot of experience, so.
So guys, this was the Magician's Sins. And also, if you apply these tips, I guarantee you that you're gonna become better for sure. For sure. Again, guys, if you like that video, please don't forget to smash that like button, hit the notification bell, and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you really, really soon. Peace!
Yeah, I thought his advice was actually pretty well spot on. I mean, any amateur magician becoming professional will have to learn basically everything that this guy is talking about. So the quicker you can learn that as an amateur magician or a semi-pro, the better, because you will be better for practicing, for not taking yourself too seriously, for not overdoing your magic right at the top and saving some of your better things for the end. These are just things that professionals simply do. So I like that. Alex Boyer, good job on that, man. I'm gonna look for some of your other magic and check it out in the future, frankly. I'm curious to see some of your other stuff. That's a really cool video that he did 7 mistakes for magicians, to, you know, beginner magicians, because, you know, it's good to get advice like that. I think you really nailed some of that stuff. So thanks for putting out the video, man. If you guys like this, and I hope you did, and I'm glad I get to share magic like this with people and ideas and concepts like this with you guys. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate that. So if you liked it, please destroy the thumbs up button. If you want to see more, then subscribe and hit the bell to get notified so you know when I post new videos. Thank you guys very much. We will see you in the next one.